On Christmas Eve in Boston, Catherine Morrison sat alone in the Golden Oak restaurant. She was 72 years old, wealthy beyond measure, and completely miserable. The food in front of her had gone cold 20 minutes ago. She hadn't touched it. Her hands rested on the armrests of her wheelchair, trembling slightly, not from the cold outside, but from something deeper, something that had been eating at her for 5 years. 5 years since the accident. 5 years since her husband Thomas died when their car hit black ice on Route 2. 5 years since she woke up in a hospital bed and learned she would never walk normally again. And 5 years of being completely, utterly alone. Catherine stared at her phone. One message from her son James, sent that morning. "Merry Christmas, Mom. Sorry we can't make it this year. Next year for sure." The same message he'd sent last year, and the year before that. She'd stopped believing it. Around her, families laughed and celebrated. Children ran between tables. Couples held hands. Everyone belonged to someone. Everyone except her. She tried to pick up her fork, but her hand shook too much. She set it down, embarrassed, hoping no one noticed. They never noticed, or maybe they did and just looked away. That was worse somehow. The tears came suddenly. She pressed her napkin to her eyes, trying to hide her face. Pathetic, she thought, a billionaire crying in public on Christmas Eve. But all the money in the world couldn't buy what she needed most. Someone to care, someone to be there. Someone to see her as more than just the woman in the wheelchair dining alone. "Excuse me, are you okay?" Catherine looked up. A little girl stood beside her table, maybe 7 years old, with blonde hair in braids and bright blue eyes. She wore a purple winter coat that was too small for her, and her shoes were held together with duct tape. But her expression was serious and concerned in a way that made Catherine's throat tighten. "I'm fine, sweetheart," Catherine said, her voice coming out rough. She hadn't spoken to anyone all day. "You're crying," the girl said simply. "Why are you sad? It's Christmas. Nobody should be sad on Christmas." Before Catherine could respond, a woman appeared behind the child. She was young, maybe 32 or 33, with dark hair pulled back in a ponytail. She wore jeans and a coat that had seen better days. Her hands looked rough and calloused, and there were dark circles under her eyes. She put her hand on the girl's shoulder. "Emma, honey, we need to go," the woman said gently. Then to Catherine, "I'm so sorry. She just walked over before I could stop her." "It's all right," Catherine said. But Emma didn't move. She was still looking at Catherine with those unnervingly direct eyes. "You're by yourself," Emma said. "That's why you're sad. You're alone." The truth of it hit Catherine like a physical blow. This child had seen in 3 seconds what Catherine had been trying to hide for 5 years. "Emma, please," the woman said, sounding mortified. "We really need to go." "Wait," Catherine heard herself say. "She's right. I am alone." Emma reached into her coat pocket and pulled out something wrapped in tissue paper. She held it out to Catherine. "I made this for my teacher, but I think you need it more." Catherine took it with shaking hands. Inside was a handmade Christmas card, construction paper with a crayon drawing of 2 stick figures holding hands under a star. The words inside said, "You're not alone." Catherine stared at it, tears spilling down her cheeks again. She looked up at the woman who was gently trying to pull Emma away. "Please," Catherine said. "Would you join me, both of you? I have far too much food, and I would really love the company." The woman hesitated, suspicion and need warring on her face. "We couldn't possibly—" "Please," Catherine said again. "It would mean everything to me." Emma's face lit up. "Can we, Mama? Please." The woman looked at her daughter, then at Catherine. Finally, she nodded. "Okay. Thank you. That's very kind." They sat down. Catherine learned their names, Maya Rivera and her daughter Emma. Catherine ordered more food, insisting they get whatever they wanted. As they waited, she asked them questions. Not prying, just gentle curiosity. And slowly, Maya began to share their story. Maya was an architect, or she had been. She'd graduated from MIT on a full scholarship, top of her class. But then her husband got sick. Cancer. She'd spent 3 years taking care of him, watching him die slowly. After he passed 2 years ago, she'd tried to go back to work. But nobody would hire her. 3 years out of the field made her resume look stale. Being a single mother made her seem unreliable. The jobs she'd interviewed for all went to someone else. Someone without gaps in their resume, someone without a child who might get sick. Now Maya worked in construction management. Code compliance, site inspections. She made sure other people's designs met regulations. It paid the bills barely. But it wasn't architecture. It wasn't designing buildings, creating something beautiful and functional. It wasn't the dream she'd worked so hard for. Catherine listened to all of this and felt something shift inside her chest. Something that had been frozen for 5 years began to thaw. Here was a woman with talent and education and dreams, stuck in a system that punished her for having loved someone enough to care for them. A system Catherine had helped build with her own company's hiring practices. Emma ate her chicken fingers and talked about school and her friends, and how her mama used to smile more before her daddy got sick. She said it all innocently, not understanding the weight of her words. But Maya's face tightened with each revelation. She tried to change the subject, embarrassed by her daughter's honesty. "Don't," Catherine said quietly. "Don't be embarrassed. Emma's just telling the truth, and the truth is, the world hasn't been fair to you." Maya looked at her, surprised. "Life isn't fair to anyone." "No," Catherine agreed, "but some people get chances, others don't, and it usually has nothing to do with talent or hard work." They talked through dinner. Catherine found herself sharing things she hadn't spoken about in years, about Thomas, about building Morrison Industries from a single rental property into a real estate empire, about her son James and how she'd missed his childhood because she was always working, about the accident and the 5 years since of physical therapy and loneliness and regret. "I spent my whole life chasing success," Catherine said, "and I caught it, but I lost everything else along the way, my husband, my son, myself." Maya nodded slowly. "After David died, I realized something similar. None of the things we owned mattered. The only thing that mattered was the time we'd had together, and I'd give everything I have for just 1 more hour with him." They sat in silence for a moment, 2 women who'd learned the same hard lesson from different kinds of loss. When dessert came, Emma suddenly started singing. "Silent Night, Holy Night." Her voice was thin and slightly off-key, but it was the most beautiful sound Catherine had heard in 5 years. Maya joined in, harmonizing with her daughter. Other diners turned to watch. Some smiled. A few pulled out phones to record. Catherine just closed her eyes and listened, feeling truly present for the first time in years. When they finished, the restaurant erupted in applause. Emma beamed. Maya looked embarrassed but proud. Catherine made a decision then, a split-second choice that would change all 3 of their lives. "I want to show you something," Catherine said. "If you'll let me. My driver can take us." Maya hesitated. "Mrs. Morrison—" "Catherine, please." "Catherine, you've already done so much." "I haven't done anything yet. Please, just 30 minutes of your time." Emma tugged on her mother's sleeve. "Can we see, Mama?" Maya looked at her daughter, then back at Catherine. "Okay, 30 minutes." Catherine's driver took them across the city to a dark, abandoned building, Gothic revival architecture from the 1890s, with broken windows and graffiti on the walls. But even in decay, it was beautiful. "This is the Morrison building," Catherine said as they stood outside. "My first property. My husband and I bought it 43 years ago when we had more dreams than money." Maya stepped closer to the fence, her architect's eye immediately cataloguing details. "Richardsonian Romanesque, late 1800s. Those arches, that stonework, it's incredible." "It's been empty for 12 years, Catherine continued. "Every architect I've hired wants to gut it, turn it into luxury condos, strip out the history and maximize profit." She paused. "I want someone to restore it. Really restore it. Honor what it was while making it accessible and functional for today." Maya was quiet, studying the building with an intensity Catherine recognized. It was passion. Love, even. "Why are you showing me this?" Maya finally asked. Because I want you to design it, lead the project, full architectural control. Maya turned to stare at her. You don't even know me. I know enough, Catherine said. I know you gave up a career you loved to care for someone you loved more. I know you're still standing after the kind of loss that breaks most people. And I know you see this building the way I do, not as a pile of bricks, but as something worth saving. I can't, Maya said, shaking her head. I have Emma. I can't work 70-hour weeks. I can't travel. I can't be the architect you need. Then we'll figure it out, Catherine said. Flexible hours, remote work when possible, childcare stipend, health insurance that actually covers things, and a salary that lets you stop working 3 jobs. Maya stared at her. Why? Why would you do this for a stranger? Catherine was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, Because 5 years ago I lost everything that mattered, and tonight your daughter reminded me what it feels like to be human, to care about something other than the next board meeting. She met Maya's eyes. I can't get those 5 years back, but maybe I can do something right now. Maybe I can give someone a fair chance when the world keeps slamming doors in her face. Emma, who had been quietly looking at the building, suddenly spoke up. Mama, you should do it. Baby, I cry in the bathroom when you think I'm asleep. You're sad when you come home from work. Emma looked at Catherine. She used to smile all the time before Daddy got sick. Maya's eyes filled with tears. Catherine felt her own throat tighten. Come to my office Monday, Catherine said gently. Just to talk. No commitment. Bring Emma. Just think about it. Maya took Catherine's business card, stared at it for a long time. Then she looked up and said, barely a whisper, I'll think about it. That night, Maya put Emma to bed in their tiny one-bedroom apartment. After Emma fell asleep, Maya sat at her kitchen table and opened her laptop. She searched for Catherine Morrison. The results were impressive and troubling. Morrison Industries was worth billions. But there were also articles about tenant displacements, aggressive development tactics, lawsuits. Catherine Morrison was described as ruthless, brilliant, and uncompromising. Maya opened another folder on her computer. Her own portfolio. Buildings she'd designed in graduate school, dreams she'd had before life happened. She stared at the renderings for a long time, then closed the laptop. Could she really trust a billionaire developer she'd just met? Could she risk disappointing Emma again if it didn't work out? Could she afford not to try? Across the city, Catherine sat alone in her penthouse. She looked at Emma's handmade card, running her fingers over the crayon drawing. Then she picked up her phone and called her son James. James, it's your mother. I know it's late, I just wanted to say... She paused, the words catching in her throat. Never mind. Merry Christmas. She hung up before he could answer, stared at her reflection in the dark window. Watch this, Thomas, she whispered. I'm going to do it right this time. Monday morning, Maya stood outside Morrison Industries headquarters, holding Emma's hand. She wore her only professional suit, slightly outdated. She took a deep breath. It's okay to be scared, Mama, Emma said, squeezing her hand. They walked inside. Catherine met them in a glass-walled conference room. Another woman was there, sharp-eyed and professional. Margaret Sullivan, Catherine's VP of Development. Maya, this is Margaret, Catherine said. Margaret, this is Maya Rivera, the architect I told you about. Margaret shook Maya's hand, but her expression was cold. Ms. Rivera, Catherine mentioned she met you at a restaurant. Maya handed over her portfolio, printouts of her old work. Margaret flipped through them, expressionless. MIT, impressive, Margaret said. But your last built project was 7 years ago, and since then. I've worked in site inspection, code compliance, so you haven't designed anything in 7 years. Margaret looked at Catherine. With all due respect, Catherine, the Morrison building is a $15 million project. We need someone with recent experience, references, a proven track record. Maya stood up. You're right. This was a mistake. Mama, don't go, Emma said from the corner where she'd been coloring. Maya, wait, Catherine said. But Maya shook her head. Ms. Sullivan is right. You need someone with credentials I don't have anymore. She took Emma's hand. Thank you for the opportunity. Ms. Rivera, Margaret said, I'm not trying to be cruel. I'm being realistic. This company has liability, reputation to protect. Maya turned back, fire in her eyes. You want realistic? Realistic is that I graduated top of my class. Realistic is that I won the Rothschild Prize for innovative sustainable design. Realistic is that I gave up everything to care for my dying husband, and when I tried to come back, nobody would give me a chance because I had a gap in my resume and a kid who needed me. She took a breath. You're right. I haven't designed in 7 years, but I've spent 7 years looking at other people's designs and seeing every flaw, every missed opportunity, every moment where they prioritized budget over beauty or efficiency over humanity. Silence filled the room. Maya turned to Catherine. But Miss Sullivan is right about one thing. You need someone you can trust with $15 million, and we don't know each other well enough for that. She started toward the door. Maya, Catherine said, what do you see when you look at the Morrison building? Maya stopped, turned around. What? You saw it for 30 seconds in the dark. What did you see? Maya couldn't help herself. The architect in her took over. I saw a building that's dying, but not dead. The bones are still good. The terracotta can be restored. The stonework needs repointing, but it's salvageable. She paused. The windows should be replaced with historically accurate replicas, but with modern energy efficiency. Double-pane glass with the original pattern. The interior, Margaret asked, interested despite herself. Keep the structural walls. Expose the original brick. It tells the story of the building. Install modern systems, but hide them. Make it accessible with ramps and elevators that look intentional, not added as an afterthought. How long would it take? Catherine asked. 14 months. Maybe 12 if you have good contractors. The last estimate was 22 months, Margaret said. The last estimate probably involved demolition and rebuild. Restoration is faster if you respect what's already there. Catherine looked at Margaret. Give her a chance. Catherine, one project, 3 months trial. If she delivers viable plans, we move forward. If not, we part ways. No hard feelings. Margaret was quiet for a long moment. Then she extended her hand to Maya. 3 months. Prove me wrong. Maya shook it. I will. Maya threw herself into the work. Late nights measuring, photographing, sketching. Days at the building site, studying every detail. More late nights at her apartment. Emma asleep beside her, while Maya hunched over drawings. The work was exhilarating. For the first time in 7 years, Maya was designing again, creating something beautiful and meaningful. She dreamed about the Morrison building, saw it in her mind, restored and alive, and welcoming people of all abilities through its doors. But the cost was high. She was always tired, always rushing, always feeling like she was failing at something. Work or motherhood, never both at once. One evening, Maya got a call from Emma's school. She was late picking up Emma again, the 3rd time that week. The teacher's voice was disapproving. Ms. Rivera, if this continues, we'll need to discuss alternative arrangements. Maya sped to the school. Emma sat alone with a teacher, the last child there. When Emma saw her, she just said, Hi, Mama. It's okay. I did my homework. That acceptance, that resignation in her 7-year-old daughter's voice, broke something in Maya. In the car, Maya tried to apologize. Emma just said quietly, It's like with Daddy. When he was sick, you were always with him. Now you're always at the building. I understand. You shouldn't have to understand, Maya said, voice breaking. You're 7 years old. 7 3/4, Emma corrected. Mama, I'm okay. I know you're working hard for us. Maya pulled over and hugged her daughter tight. I love you so much. I love you too, Mama. That night, after Emma was asleep, Maya called Catherine. I need to resign. What? Maya, what happened? I can't do this. I thought I could balance everything, but I can't. Emma needs me more than this building does. Then bring her to the site. We'll figure it out. Catherine, I'm failing. I'm failing, Emma. I'm over budget. I'm behind schedule. I can't do this. You're not failing. You're human. Come over right now. Bring Emma right now. Catherine's penthouse that night felt different, warmer somehow. She'd ordered pizza, regular pizza from a chain. They sat in the living room, and Catherine pulled out a box of old photos. "This is my son James," she told Emma, showing her pictures. "He's about your age here." "He looks sad," Emma observed. Catherine paused. "He was, because I was always at work, just like your mama is now." She showed them photo after photo. James at school events, Catherine absent. Birthday parties, Catherine arriving late or not at all. Years of missed moments, captured in photographs. "I told myself I was working hard for him," Catherine said, "to give him a good life. But what he needed was me." She looked at Maya. "I don't talk to my son anymore. Haven't really talked to him in years. Because I made the same choice you're about to make, work over family." "But you built an empire," Maya said, "an empty one. I succeeded at business and failed at life." Catherine took Maya's hand. "Don't make my mistakes." "Then what do I do? The project is falling apart. So we fix it, differently." By midnight, they had a plan. Catherine would hire an assistant project manager to handle day-to-day issues. Maya's schedule would flex around Emma's needs. Core hours 10 to 3, Emma time sacred. Maya could do design work from home, and Catherine would personally cover reasonable budget overruns. "Catherine, that's too much," Maya protested. "It's not enough," Catherine said firmly. "Maya, I don't care if this building takes 18 months instead of 12. I don't care if it costs an extra $1 million. What I care about is that in 10 years, Emma doesn't look at photos of you and feel sad." Emma, who had been listening quietly, asked Catherine, "Do you miss your son?" "Every single day," Catherine admitted, tears in her eyes. "You should call him." "I've tried. He doesn't answer." "Maybe he's scared," Emma said. "Scared of what?" "That you're still mad at him for being sad when he was little." Catherine stared at this child, who had just perfectly diagnosed years of family dysfunction. "Your daughter is terrifyingly perceptive," Maya smiled. "She gets it from her father." As they were leaving, Emma asked, "Miss Catherine, when the building is done, will you still be our friend?" Catherine knelt down to Emma's level. "Emma, listen to me. I'm not going anywhere. You and your mama saved my life. I'll be here as long as you'll have me." "Promise?" "Promise." Emma hugged her, and Catherine held this child she barely knew and realized this was what she'd been missing all along. This was what mattered. With the new arrangement in place, things improved. Maya was sleeping again. Emma was happier. The project moved forward, slower but steadier. Maya's designs were brilliant. The building was coming back to life, transformed but respectful of its history. Then, 3 months before completion, Richard Chen, the company's CFO, made his move. In a board meeting, Richard stood up and said, "I'm calling for a vote of no confidence in Catherine Morrison's leadership." The room went silent. "On what grounds?" Catherine asked, her voice dangerously calm. "On the grounds that you're running this company based on emotion rather than business sense. The Morrison Building project is over budget, behind schedule, and led by someone with no track record." He looked around the table. "Catherine has lost her objectivity. She's treating this company like a charity rather than a business." "The building is 3 months from completion," Margaret interjected. "Maya Rivera's work has been exceptional." "Exceptional?" Richard pulled out a folder. "The project is $800,000 over the original budget. It's taken 15 months instead of 12. And for what? So Catherine can feel good about herself?" "So we can restore a piece of Boston's history," Catherine said. "So we can create something that matters." "Nothing matters if we go bankrupt doing it," Richard shot back. "I've consulted with our lawyers. The board has the authority to remove you as CEO if you're acting against the company's interests." Catherine's face went pale. "You wouldn't." "I would. I am. Let's vote." The vote was close. Some board members sided with Catherine, loyal to her years of leadership. Others sided with Richard, worried about the company's direction. It came down to one vote, Margaret Sullivan's. Everyone looked at her. Margaret was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "I vote to keep Catherine as CEO." Richard's face darkened. "You're making a mistake." "Maybe," Margaret said, "but I'd rather make a mistake with heart than a good decision without one." Richard stood up. "Fine, but I'm resigning from the board, and I'm taking 3 of our largest investors with me." He looked at Catherine. "You've got 6 months to prove this was worth it. 6 months before this company falls apart." He left. The room was silent. Catherine sat very still. Then she said quietly, "Thank you, Margaret." "Don't thank me yet. He's right about one thing. We need the Morrison building to succeed, not just architecturally, financially." Catherine nodded. Then she called Maya and told her everything. "I'm so sorry," Maya said. "This is my fault. I should have stayed on budget." "Stop," Catherine said. "This isn't about the budget. It's about Richard wanting control. But he's not wrong that we need this building to work. Can you finish it? Make it something special." Maya was quiet for a moment, then she said, "Yes, I can finish it, and it will be something special, I promise." The next 3 months were intense. Maya worked harder than she ever had, but this time with balance. She brought Emma to the site sometimes. Emma would do homework in the construction trailer while Maya met with contractors. Other times, Maya worked from home, designing details while Emma did art projects beside her. Catherine visited the site often. She watched the building transform. Original brick walls exposed and cleaned, wooden beams restored, stone arches brought back to their former glory. Modern systems integrated so seamlessly you'd never know they were there, and most importantly, ramps and elevators and wide doorways that made the building welcoming to everyone. "It's beautiful," Catherine said one day, wheeling through the nearly complete space. "Maya, it's perfect." Maya smiled, tired but proud. "It's what you deserved, what the building deserved." The grand opening was scheduled for November 23rd, the day before Thanksgiving. 500 people were invited: city officials, historical society members, press, potential tenants. The morning of the opening, Maya was setting up when a man approached her. Late 40s, expensive suit, Catherine's eyes. "You must be Maya Rivera," he said. "I'm James Morrison, Catherine's son." Maya shook his hand, surprised. "She didn't mention you were coming." "She doesn't know. I saw the news coverage about the building, about what you two did together." He looked around. "It's incredible. My mother told me about it, but I didn't believe she could actually pull it off." "She didn't do it alone," Maya said. "We did it together." James nodded. "That's what I wanted to talk to you about. My mother, is she okay?" Maya hesitated. "She's happy. Happier than when I met her." "Why?" "Because I haven't been there for her, for years. I blamed her for not being there when I was young, so I punished her by staying away. Even after Dad died, even after her accident." His voice cracked. "I justified it by telling myself she didn't need me. But she did need me, and I wasn't there. You were." "James, thank you," he said. "Thank you for showing up, for giving her a reason to keep fighting, for reminding her that people can be good." Before Maya could respond, Catherine arrived. She wasn't in her wheelchair. She walked slowly with a cane, but she walked. She wore a blue dress and looked more alive than Maya had ever seen her. And beside her, holding her other arm, was Emma. "Mama, look," Emma called out. "Miss Catherine walked all the way from the car." Catherine smiled at Maya. Then she saw James. She froze. "Hi, Mom," James said. Mother and son stared at each other, years of hurt and distance between them. Then Catherine opened her arms. "Come here," she whispered. James crossed the space and hugged his mother. Both of them were crying. The ceremony began at noon. 500 people filled the restored building. The mayor spoke about historic preservation and community investment. The head of the Historical Society praised the restoration work. Then Catherine stood at the podium. 30 years ago, she began, I built Morrison Industries from nothing. One property, one dream, one woman who people said couldn't do it." Her voice grew stronger. "I proved them wrong. I built a company. I made a fortune. I earned respect. But I lost what mattered. I lost time with my son. I lost my husband. I lost myself." She looked at Maya. "And then, last Christmas, I sat alone in a restaurant, feeling sorry for myself. And a little girl told me that nobody should be alone on Christmas." She was right. Emma beamed from the front row. "That little girl and her mother reminded me what matters," Catherine continued. "Not buildings or money or success. People, kindness, connection, using what you have to lift others up. She gestured around the building. This isn't just a restoration. It's a promise that second chances are real, that talent matters more than credentials, that we can preserve history while building a future that includes everyone. She looked directly at Maya. 6 months ago, I hired a woman everyone said I was crazy to hire, an architect who'd been out of the field for 7 years, a single mother with no recent portfolio, someone the system had rejected over and over. Catherine smiled. She proved every single one of them wrong. She finished this project beautifully. She trained apprentices who now have real careers, and she reminded me why I started this company in the first place. The crowd applauded. But more than that, Catherine's voice broke. Maya and Emma gave me a family when I thought I'd lost mine forever. They showed me what really matters. Not buildings, not money, not success. She looked at James, then at Maya and Emma. Love, connection, being there for people. That's what matters. That's what lasts. The applause was thunderous. Maya stood beside Emma, tears streaming down her face. Catherine came down from the podium, James helping her. She walked straight to Maya. Thank you, Catherine said, for everything. Thank you for believing in me, Maya replied. Emma hugged Catherine's waist. Ms. Catherine, can we come to your house for Thanksgiving tomorrow? Catherine looked at Maya. Can you? We'd love to. Then yes, sweetheart, we'll have Thanksgiving together. All of us. She looked at James. You too, please. James nodded, too emotional to speak. That night, Maya tucked Emma into bed. Their apartment was still small, still cramped, but it felt different now, full of possibility. Mama, Emma said sleepily. Yeah, baby. I'm glad Miss Catherine picked you to build her building. Me too, sweetheart. And I'm glad we're a family now. Even though Daddy's not here, we still have a family. Maya kissed her forehead. Yeah, baby, we do. After Emma fell asleep, Maya sat at the kitchen table. A letter had arrived that day, from the medical billing company. Final notice, balance paid in full $180,000. A note was attached in Catherine's handwriting. Nobody should carry that burden alone. Consider it a bonus. You earned it. Maya put her head in her hands and cried. Not from sadness, from relief, from gratitude, from the overwhelming sense that maybe the universe wasn't always cruel. Maybe sometimes it sent a little girl who reminded you that nobody should be alone. Maybe sometimes it sent a lonely woman who saw your worth when nobody else could. Maybe sometimes it gave you a second chance. Thanksgiving Day, Maya and Emma went to Catherine's penthouse. James was there with his wife and their children. The apartment that had been empty for 5 years was full of noise and laughter and life. Catherine sat at the head of the table, Emma on one side and James on the other. She looked around at her family, the one she'd been born into and the one she'd chosen, and felt complete. I want to say something, Catherine announced. Everyone quieted. Last Christmas I thought my life was over. I was alone, in pain, ready to give up. She looked at Emma and Maya. And then 2 people walked into a restaurant and changed everything. She raised her glass. To second chances, to new beginnings, to families we choose, and to the courage it takes to show up for each other when the world tells us we can't. To second chances, everyone echoed. They ate and laughed and shared stories. Emma taught James's children how to play the piano. Maya and James's wife talked about teaching and learning and giving kids hope, and Catherine sat in her wheelchair, no longer fighting to stand, just being present, just being grateful. As the evening wound down, Emma climbed into Catherine's lap. Ms. Catherine. Yes, sweetheart. Will you be here next Christmas? The room went quiet. Everyone knew about Catherine's declining health, the cancer diagnosis that had come in March. Catherine hugged Emma tight. I'll fight to be here, I promise. Good, because I love you. I love you too, my darling girl. After everyone left, Catherine sat alone in her apartment, but it didn't feel empty anymore. It felt full of love and memories and promise. She picked up the phone and called Maya. Thank you, she said when Maya answered, for saving my life, for giving me a reason to wake up every morning, for showing me what really matters. Catherine, you saved mine first. Then we saved each other. And that's the best Christmas gift I've ever received. They talked for another hour about Emma, about James, about the future, about all the buildings they would restore and all the people they would help. When Catherine finally hung up, she wheeled to her window and looked out at the city. "I did it, Thomas," she whispered. "I found my way back. I found a family. I found a reason." And she knew deep in her heart that love doesn't die. It just changes form. It becomes the courage to try again, the willingness to open your heart to strangers, the decision to show up even when everything hurts. It becomes a little girl in a purple coat singing off-key in a restaurant, an architect with kind eyes and capable hands, a lonely woman who finally learned that money can't buy what matters, but love can heal what's broken. On Christmas morning 1 year later, they all gathered again in Catherine's penthouse. Catherine was weaker now, her illness progressing, but she was happy, surrounded by the people she loved. Emma opened presents, James made coffee. Maya helped Catherine to her chair by the window. "This is everything," Catherine said softly. "This moment right here. This is everything." "Yes," Maya agreed. "It is." Emma brought over a drawing, another family portrait, stick figures holding hands, 4 adults, 3 children, and in the middle, a woman in a wheelchair. At the bottom, the words, "Family is love. Merry Christmas." Catherine held the picture to her chest and smiled through her tears, because she finally understood what she'd been searching for her entire life. Not success, not money, not buildings or empires or recognition, just this: love, family, connection, the courage to let people in, and the grace to accept that sometimes the family you need isn't the one you're born into. It's the one you choose, the one that chooses you back, the one that shows up on Christmas and reminds you that nobody should be alone, ever.